Hello, everybody. Yes, it's another one of our rambling podcasts. I'm Wayne, or Captain Redshirt, from the USS Southern Cross. I'm the CO, so I'm the one that has to take all the crap for these podcasts. And my lurking colleague over the side is...
I'm Sean from TrekkieFanfiction.com. I'm also a member of his crew.
Oh no, yeah, don't go with the laugh, because we did a club event where we read one of the episodes and he got to do the evil laugh a lot, and it got a little bit got out of control. So oh god, here we go already. Okay, so what are we talking about? Well, this time we're gonna pick apart the episode, the TOS Metamorphosis. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, for any Star Trek fan who doesn't, I'm going to put you in the airlock now for that. I know, shush. Metamorphosis was first aired in November the 10th, 1967. It was season 2, episode 9, and it is, and I'm going to read this off one of the websites, while returning to the Enterprise, which I might add I've got some serious problems with to begin with, but aboard the shuttle, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and a seriously ill Federation diplomat find themselves kidnapped by an energy cloud. The energy cloud.
I don't have a cloud around here.
Yes. The energy cloud.
I left my cloud in my other jacket, sorry.
It's the first time we actually put a face to Cochrane. Now, also, before we get going,
Cochrane, yeah.
I'm going to backstep. We're going to try this 30-minute routine again. So, but I've come up with a yeah, hang on.
We might pull it off with this one.
I've actually downloaded an app, so you can actually watch the 30 minutes ticking by in the corner. So
I see a clock.
We've got no hope. I can tell you now, we've got no hope. All right, okay. So we basically have the premise for this. This is the first time that you actually put a face to Cochrane. Now, you hear everything about Cochrane. If the Federation, Starfleet, the galaxy, everybody wouldn't exist without Cochrane. Now, the greatest mystery in the Federation's history was the disappearance of Cochrane. For those of you who don't know the canon story, he supposedly was trying out the new Phoenix 2 with a new warp engine. He took off and was never heard of again until this episode. It took 2 seasons to get to this episode. But okay, I'm going to hand it over to my learned colleague to get this started, because I was the one that picked this. So he gets to go first of what he thinks. And you.
And me. Well, having rewatched Metamorphosis for who knows how many times, I thought, my goodness, this was really bland.
Hang on, we've only got
really think about it. It's nothing more
about a minute
than
and 30 into it, and we've already said it's bland.
I mean, seriously, we've got. Well, seriously, it's not Kirk's finest hour. Because he makes some incredibly dumb decisions.
Yeah, that's one of the things I'm going to go at.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, I know.
But when you break it down to, it is guy meets girl, girl falls in love with guy, and
hang on, not girl, blob energy creature,
girlish thing.
Okay.
Along comes dying girl, and blobby girl unites with dying girl, so it's invasion of the body snatchers, and then guy and invaded body snatcher girl live happily ever after. End of story. And then Enterprise people get to go home. Yay. And that's pretty much the whole story.
Well, it's a love story. It's a love story.
Oh.
No. In its broken down argument, it is Star Trek's version of a love story.
Yes, and now we break into song. No, maybe not.
Please
but
don't.
yes.
you're right.
I need my wife here so I can.
I don't agree with you completely, but it's boring. It has got some bits. We finally get to put something tangible to the Cochrane legend. Now, I personally, and this is me, but I personally believe Glenn Gorbett actually did a damn good representation of Zephyrin Cochrane, because
he did a great job.
There wasn't, I think there's about, less than a paragraph of information about Cochrane up until this point.
Yeah.
So he had to pull, now I've said this before in other ones we've done, he had to pull a character out of this. Now, I do have a few problems with his character, but in all, he did a pretty good job, to be truthfully honest, with what he was given. But I honestly believe, although he did a very good job, I think, he does not come across as a person that's just survived the Third World War. He's very, hello, I'm here. He's very kind of laid back. He's not gritty. He's not hard.
Mind you, in my research, there are some massive non sequiturs. All right, take for instance.
Stop using big words. I haven't got a dictionary handy.
Well, okay, there are some massive holes in the entire.
I can understand holes.
All right, first contact. Give me the date, because I know it, but I want you to say it.
April the 5th,
2063.
Thank you.
All right, now
I was going to say 21. I don't know. I've got Enterprise in my head. Sorry, I was doing the Enterprise episode.
When did the when did the NX-01 launch?
2150, wasn't it? 2151.
Yeah, 2151, if I remember rightly. Okay, now roughly anyway. Now, so Jonathan Archer is, just reading from the lore, right? Jonathan Archer, is the captain, right?
Yeah.
Now he's said to have met Cochrane when he was young.
Yes.
Okay. Now, and Cochrane was 87 when he went missing.
Yes.
Now, how old do you think Zephyrin Cochrane was at first contact?
He would have been pushing 60, I think, 65, 60, around the late 60s. I'm guessing
2063.
But hang on now, before we get into this, hang on. I'm not falling into this trap.
And Jonathan Archer was how old in? Yeah, but hang on,
there was a lot of discrepancy with
100 years later.
There was a lot of discrepancy with Cochrane. All right. And I remember reading something on a fan site that Cochrane did age slower because of the early warp drive. Now I'm thinking
how much slower?
I think that was also put in to try and bridge the inconsistencies that were going on. Look,
as in turning back the freaking clock slower?
I know. When Roddenberry wrote about Cochrane, he wrote a very small piece and then he left it alone. I don't know if there was ever going to be, or he ever was going to touch on it again. Well, I don't know,
man. That sort of writing, or what? I mean, seriously.
He needed a character to create warp drive.
Yeah, I understand that.
But I think he forgot to flesh it out a little bit.
Situation, donuts.
Yeah, I think. I also think that he was having a problem with his abacus at the time. He wasn't actually, the balls weren't moving.
Yeah, there were no batteries in his abacus.
Yeah, there was no batteries in his abacus. I seriously believe there wasn't any batteries, and as soon as the batteries were changed, they realized that there was a problem, but it was too late to fix it. So they had to just keep.
I can imagine
catching
him maybe meeting Henry Archer when he was young.
Well, he did. He supposedly did meet Henry Archer.
Yeah, but he was working with Henry Archer to create the Warp 5 engine.
Yeah, but even
and
with
that
Henry,
makes zero sense.
even with Henry Archer, if you see the first episode of Enterprise and you see Henry Archer and Jonathan Archer and they're flying that remote control, you look at Henry Archer, he looks like he's in his 30s, maybe like probably early 30s. The time frames don't add up again. It just physically, you can't stretch Cochrane far enough ahead in order for all of them to. Somebody forgot to back check.
Cochrane would have had to have gone through some serious time dilation fields to have made it to the.
Somebody
so the
forgot
early
to fact check.
2100s. It's
Somebody simply forgot to fact check that.
Yeah.
But let's not up because that could be an episode all by its little lonesome, just picking on trying to work out the maths. I mean, I have a whiteboard on here. We can do the maths, but it's going to get so complicated. It's going to be ridiculous.
I mean, at least in Metamorphosis, I noticed that, as soon as Cochrane saw Spock, he recognized him as a Vulcan straight away. Which was cool.
Yeah, because if he hadn't have, that would have been completely stupid.
Yeah. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, first contact, the first people who would step off the ship.
Yeah. And if they had said, "Who are you and what are you?" I would have gone, "Hang on." I mean, he knows what a Vulcan is.
Totally.
So I liked that little bit. He knew that but there is a part of Cochrane that I do have a problem with. He's built the Phoenix, as we believe, to make money, which I always have a problem with because there's no world governments left after World War III. So I don't know who's going to pay for the warp drive. But then as he goes on, he knows there's aliens, because he's seen Vulcans, which I'm assuming before he disappeared, he would have come in contact with other aliens. And then he's completely disgusted in humans and aliens being together. I'm thinking,
it's weird, dude. Weird.
I don't get why they wrote that.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
I get it. I get the factor that he's human. He's come out of World War III. We're still thinking we're the only living entities in the universe.
I think it's not so much as he's disgusted by humans and aliens. I think it was just the fact that the companion was just so far removed from anything even remotely human.
That's not the way it came across. That's not the way it was written, I think. That again was it could have been written differently. I think
it could have been. It could have been handled a whole lot better.
Yeah, it could have. I just think that let it down a little bit. That broke this image of Cochrane for me a little bit.
Yeah, it did make him look entirely parochial. Mind you, I did have to smile to myself in that Cochrane, when he shook Spock's hand, was actually shaking the hand of the great-grandson of the man whose hand he shook at first contact.
I didn't put the two.
Solskjaer was Spock's great-grandfather.
I hadn't put the two of them together, to be honest, but that's actually... I wonder if they did that deliberately or just because no one actually read the script and just shake Spock's hand. I can't believe they did that with thinking about it, to be truthfully honest.
Yeah. Now, you remember Star Trek 3 when Talar announced Sarek's lineage. Yeah, Sarek, son of Scone, son of Solskjaer. Solskjaer was the man whose hand that Zefram Cochrane's shook, whose hand he shook.
Well,
so
that's a tantalizing piece of information that's quite out there for fans.
There you go. So
there would be fans who would know this. I know this.
So So Spock, when he shook Spock's hand, he was shaking that the great grandson of the very man his hand he shook at first contact. Yeah. So it was just it's funny little tidbit, but
I like that. Did you like Cochrane's shelter or home? Did you like the leather seat that they had down there? I mean, where did you get that from?
Where did you get that from? Yeah. Unless it was in his ship. I mean, who knows what was in Phoenix?
It wasn't. Well, if you go with what...
Did you see a picture of it?
Of what?
Of the Phoenix 2? Nobody's seen a picture of the Phoenix 2, so who knows
Yeah.
what was in it?
Yeah, there is a picture of the Phoenix 2. I will put this up when I'm editing this. There is actually, it looks like the Phoenix, but with a fixed part nacelle pods. It's got a fixed nacelle pod. Two of them.
Some artists rendering of the
Oh,
Phoenix 2.
possibly.
So
But
you're going to take that as gospel, are you?
realistically, in the time frame that they would have not built. They would have stuck with. They would have stuck with the same concept as the Phoenix 1. Because
Why?
if you, well, no,
It
hang
wouldn't have
on.
taken too long for mankind to be creating warp-capable ships and to be plying the stars and creating trade. I wouldn't have put it beyond them to have begun that very, very quickly.
Well, it's not
and
human.
To have been
It's not human trait to
colonizing.
do that. If
Sorry?
you look at the Bell X1, the plane that broke the sound barrier, and then you look at all the Bell versions that came after it, they look almost, they're bigger, they're more powerful, but they look the same.
Do you remember the name? Oh, what was the name of that early Enterprise episode where they found that colony, that lost colony of Earth, where the people had taken refuge from the stars' radiation by dwelling underground?
Terra, not Terra.
It was Terra Nova, wasn't it?
No, damn it.
And
Everybody
they had been there for
yourselves.
about 80 years. They'd been there for about 80 years. And for them to have been there for about 80 years means that they had to have gone there in a warp-capable ship, not a hell of a long time.
Yeah, it was like, supposedly it was like the Valiant. It was supposed to be like the Valiant. That was what they estimate that they used.
Mm-hmm. It had to have been a very early warp-capable ship, probably only capable of, say, warp 2.
But Cochrane would have only built what he was good at, and he would have stuck with. Ooh, hello, what have I done there?
I'm hearing theory.
No, I'm not. Cochrane would have stuck.
And he got fairly far out.
Yeah, it was
Terra Nova. That ship was Terra Nova. And Cochrane got fairly far out for Kirk and crew to find him where they did.
There was always a lot of different perceptions about how
far out he was.
Well, what he was supposed to be testing a new warp engine that no one knew anything about. And he was only going to test it himself. He wasn't going to let anyone else test it. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, if you look back at the Enterprise series where they had so much trouble getting past Warp 2. Now, a lot of people on fan sites believe that Cochrane got past Warp 2 and maybe even further with his new engine.
Yeah.
But that engine was lost, and no one ever was able to fix it because he didn't keep any records. He kept them all in his head.
That's true. Mind you, looking at the clock, one thing I wanted to, one thing I did want to get to was that, and I mentioned earlier, was that Kirk's behavior was totally un-Starfleet.
Yes, I agree with you.
I mean, he should have sat down and thought about it logically. We're dealing with an alien creature that seemed to have had some hostile behavior, but it was intelligent, clearly intelligent. It had the ability to move at more than warp speed. It had the ability to envelop a spacecraft, to drag it down to a planet. It had the ability to heal. It had the ability to provide for Cochrane's needs. It had the ability to communicate with Cochrane. So it was obviously highly intelligent, and yet Kirk didn't even try to communicate with it. Instead, he went on the offensive. Seriously?
I don't think
he didn't try anywhere near hard enough to reason with the companion. He went on the offensive. And it's like, seriously?
I don't think the companion was aggressive. I did not see until the companion was attacked. I did not see any aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah, the companion took the shuttle, but not for aggressive reasons.
Yes.
It was trying to actually save Cochrane. So this wasn't an aggression move. This was an attempt to save life.
And
So-
mind you, Spock only got zapped when he was putting his finger in his hand into the cloud that was companion.
And that was illogical.
And he got
to do.
zapped, and that was dumb. I mean, you stick your hand into the tiger's mouth, you might get, you might, cut yourself on the tiger's tooth. Yeah, that's just dumb.
Look, I don't know what Kirk was going. Kirk, I like McCoy's comment when they're hanging out the door, and he said to Kirk, "Sometimes you're a warrior, but sometimes you forget you're a diplomat. You've been trained as a diplomat." I like that little sentence because it put it into perspective that Kirk, if you actually look at Kirk, he goes mostly with shoot him first, ask questions later.
Yes.
Now that's not.
We come in peace, shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill. And we do see that all too often. Whereas Picard was the opposite. He had a tendency to be the diplomat and then shoot. And
he's a captain of a starship. He's meant to weigh up options. Here we have an intelligent, and it is an intelligent organism. All right, doesn't look like anything they've come in contact with, but it is showing signs of intelligence. It is making decisions, it's doing actions, it's doing things, and yet he treats it like a blob.
Yeah. Mind you, this is a TV show.
Oh, yeah,
and it's got to appeal to the audience. We've got to have some action.
I know.
And so we've got to appeal to the story. We've got to have an action. We've got to have some action. We've got to appeal, and of course, we've got to make up time in this the episode as well. And that
dragged.
That
I think this episode dragged a bit.
Yeah, it did. And so we've got to have some action. We've got to do something interesting, something exciting, and so we got to have this truly pointless exercise trying to take down the companion. And and what do they learn from it? Absolutely donut.
I just thought, they did it completely arse about. They did the attack first and then the diplomacy. And I'm thinking, why wouldn't you attempt? They had the communicator. It's not like they didn't have the universal translator. I mean, if they didn't have it, you could almost accept that maybe going on the offensive may have been their only option to have at least got a response. But they had the universal translator. Yeah. So why not use it first? Yes. At least you could gain intelligence on the enemy that potentially you're going to attack. They knew nothing about this companion.
Yeah, all we know is, wow, I got a zap from it. And mind you, McCoy goes, "I'm no scientist." And it's like, that's probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard McCoy, a writer, put into McCoy's mouth.
Yeah, no.
He is a scientist. Yeah. He's one of the best scientists on the Enterprise. He's a doctor, yes, but he is also a genius scientist.
No, I don't understand that.
That is a really dumb.
Yeah, I kind of like. There was. Metamorphosis is one of those episodes where there was so many stupid things put in because of no real reason.
Yeah. Well, mind you, we're only we're not even halfway into the second season. There are so many things that have yet to be established regarding the series. Regarding Star Trek.
I know.
It's still very early days.
They're still finding their legs. They're still basically playing from episode to episode. There's no real determination that they're going to keep going for much longer. So they're playing around with the episodes. I get that. And they're trying to probably turn, and I mean, as I've said multiple times, their budget was probably 10 cents for each episode,
Well, it's clear the budget was very low on this one. And seriously, the companion looked like a piece of coloured cellophane.
Well, it was
in front of a hole.
When she pulled the scarf up in front of her, That was the companion. I think that's how they were doing it, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
The other thing that it's a two-parter, but the other thing I'm really, really struggling with here is a diplomat who is considered to be one of the key components of this peace accord. She's got a disease. So not only do they not send the Enterprise to pick her up first, they send a shuttle, but they don't send the medical equipment to fix her on the planet. They have to go 4 or 5 hours back to the Enterprise to help her. Now, if you're coming with medical attention, you don't come with nothing.
I know, it's molto stupido. At the very least, he should have brought some Panadol for her favor.
Why'd they go in a shuttle?
Niente, nil stocks, nada, zero. It is molto stupido.
They knew they had a time limit on this, and yet they're traveling for it. From when you saw the Enterprise the first time in the episode, there's no reasoning why the Enterprise could not have gone there a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Done it there and not even taken her off the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm struggling with that part of the story. It has.
Well, let's go into this from the point of view of we know it doesn't make sense.
Oh God, here we
just go with it.
You know, this is one of my.
Just go with it.
This is one of my favorite episodes.
It's like season 1 of Discovery. Let's just go with it.
No, we're not going to go with Discovery. I'm sorry.
We'll talk about that another time.
This is one of my favorite episodes. But ever since I've sort of got a bit older, and I have got older
and grew a brain,
and watched them, I pick on things a lot more. I love the episode.
Welcome to the Nitpicker's Guide to Star Trek.
Yeah, it's like it's the Nitpicker's Guide to the Galaxy. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it. I can sit there and watch it just for nothing. But then on occasions, I'll rewatch it and I go, how stupid can somebody be? I mean, this is a captain of a ship that can obliterate an entire planet. And I'm thinking, my God, I wouldn't give him a sandbox to command, let alone a starship.
Not in this case, because he made some really dumb choices to begin with. They tried to fix it up and tried to make him look when he tried to talk the companion down. But I'm thinking, sorry guys, he's already looking bad. There's no way you can make him look good in this now. I know from the Kelvin Star Trek, when Pike looks at him and says, what's a genius level IQ bloke like you? And I'm thinking, when you compare that sort of assessment with what Kirk is doing in this episode, it's like, dude, genius level IQ.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have trouble finding him in any IQ. There was a frame in the episode when the companion said, "You all live here," and the first time they used the universal translator, you can see Kirk's face. It's rippling. He's mad. He's annoyed. He wants to thrust out and be angry. I'm thinking, that's not showing a great captain of a starship and of the Federation and of Starfleet and anything. It's not. He's getting angry. A captain and the great Kirk.
No.
I mean, in this episode, he didn't look very great, unfortunately.
It is poorly written.
He wasn't
Gene
the great
Kuhn,
Kirk.
Yeah, Gene Kuhn wrote some great episodes. This was not one of them.
I think the premise behind the episode was great. To find Cochrane, I think, was a great concept.
Oh, it was a great idea.
I think they could. I think if it was done in the TNG era, I think we would have got a great episode. I really do. I think we would have got because by the time we were getting into the 80s, the late 80s, we were accepting that we didn't need to have shoot 'em up episodes. We could have really kind of intelligent episodes where you didn't have to fire one phase through the whole episode. And I think that the Metamorphosis would have suited TNG perfectly.
Yes.
To be truth. They could have done the metaphorical and wisdom and all of that It would have been great. And I was a bit upset that they never actually went back. The only time they went back to that story was in a book, Federations.
Yes.
I actually went back to that. And I'm not overly happy with that book either, to be truthfully honest. Because I think they wrecked it a little bit. I think they wrecked the end.
Yes, I seen her just while we were talking about it. Actually, it came to mind, and I seem to remember somebody in a book had gone back there.
It did, and it was an individual that hated Cochrane, who wanted to kill Cochrane from World War III, and that part was actually quite a nice read. But then once they got Cochrane and the can't think of her name. What was her name?
Commissioner Hedford.
Once they got them back into the story, it kind of enveloped out a little bit and went in all different directions. Never really sat. I like the premise where they did, an old enemy from to Third World War, and they actually explain how he's still alive in today's era. I think it was well explained and how they did it and how he did it. But
nicely convoluted, I'm sure.
Yes, it was. It was a bit of a convoluted book, but most Star Trek books are a little bit convoluted.
Yeah.
You probably got 3 or 4, maybe 5 or 6 chapters that kind of are there to fluff it out a little bit.
Mind you, did you wonder how the Companion managed to magically restore all the damage to the shuttle at the end of the episode?
No, it phased everything out. It literally fused all the circuits, but yet there was nothing wrong with it. I'm thinking,
how did that happen?
I can understand she can grow food and she can do
it's like
biological
wave
things.
the magic screwdriver and suddenly it's repaired.
Oh no, we've run out of time.
Oh, I'm shocked.
I'm not.
Beep.
All right, let's see how long we go over. I mean, this will be fun. One day we'll actually get it down to the 30 minutes. I don't think it within our lifetime.
I don't think that's possible. No.
Yeah.
But it was a good start for Cochrane, or actually a good end for Cochrane when you think about it. But yeah, there were just a lot of holes. I mean, they really should have moved First Contact a little bit later, really. 2063. I don't know. Maybe moved it a bit later, maybe around the 2080s.
Well, you couldn't have done it as First Contact. You would have had to have called it something else, completely different.
Why? No. As in, move the date of First Contact for the movie. Move it a bit later to make it line up a bit better to
again, that comes down to
Enterprise.
Somebody just didn't do the maths. They just physically
well, actually they did Enterprise way after First Contact, didn't they?
Yeah.
So the
about
math for Enterprise
100 odd years after, 99 point something years after First Contact.
Yeah, so when they did the first episode of Enterprise, they really didn't do their math. Well,
I think they were stuck with it by then. I don't think they could tweak it a little bit here and there and play around with the times a little bit, but I think they were stuck with it and they couldn't really do a lot. There was simply nothing they could do.
Mind you, there was one thing I did like that they did do for Zephyr Cochrane, and that was in Broken Bow. And when we discover that it wasn't James T. Kirk or Christopher Pike who came up with the line to boldly go where no one has gone before, it was actually Zephyr Cochrane who coined the line. And that to seek out new life and new civilizations, all of that spiel was actually Cochrane who came up with it. And he was the one who said it in the that video that he left.
I did like that because it made a lot more sense coming from the very before Starfleet even existed. Yeah. Before we got out into the stars. It didn't make a lot of sense if it came after all that. I'm thinking, but why would you be saying it now? If you say that saying before we're boldly going, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
To state that it had to come before the first ship actually took off. I mean, there were ships already going because we had carriers and we had cargo vessels, but this was, this was the first ship that was designed specifically for exploration.
I love the fact that they had Cromwell come back and reprise the role for that. Mind you, were you aware that they had some dramas making Metamorphosis? In post-production, they found that a lot of the negatives were faulty, and they had to go back and reshoot a number of scenes for the episode. And mind you, that was well after all the sets had been struck. So they had to recreate the sets for the shots and call back the actors, including, of course, Eleanor Donahue and Glenn Corbett as Cochrane, and reshoot the shots. Now, poor old Eleanor Donahue, by the time they recalled her, had already suffered a bout of pneumonia and lost 10 pounds. And so in some of the shots for the redone shots for the episode, when you look at her, they tried to cover her up with the scarf, but you'll notice that she looks thinner in some shots than others.
Yeah, I never actually put that down or anything. I just thought it was camera and lighting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, poor thing. She'd gotten quite ill after it. And so, yeah, they had to reshoot some of the episode. And so if she looks thinner in some shots than others, it's because they filmed it weeks later.
I just found a piece on the net at the moment that they made a goof by calling the shuttlecraft Galileo, because the Galileo had been destroyed.
Mind you, I read somewhere else that the Enterprise would have been restocked.
They said it wasn't restocked. It hadn't have had the time to restock the shuttles. So theoretically, the Galileo shouldn't have been there. They should have had one of the other shuttles, but that would have meant they would have had to have painted over the Galileo, and it was probably just easier to use it. And
they should have. I mean, it's not that hard to just paint over Galileo.
I know, but I think in those days, no one thought that we'd have fans like us picking at every piece, every frame of every pixel of the shot. I don't think they were expecting us to be like what we are.
Change the number from 7 to something else, and change the name, the number to change the name and the number. Yeah.
And I don't think they ever thought that you'd get like computer on computers and everything where you could stop it perfectly and zoom in and zoom out. And look, no one was ever going to think Star Trek was going to be what it is today.
That's true.
So
you wouldn't have kids. Yeah, you wouldn't have kids like on Galaxy Quest who can guide you through the crashes.
The other thing.
This episode was badly written.
I do love that. I'm not kidding. Now you're going to make me watch it tonight. Lynn's going to kill me.
That movie was a classic.
Lynn's going to kill me because I'm going to say, can we watch Galaxy Quest? And if she says why, I'm going to blame you.
I'm all for that.
I'm actually getting off topic, but I want to watch the documentary on Galaxy.
That was brilliant.
I haven't watched it yet. It's
totally worth watching.
Is it on Netflix? Or
it is. I think it's either Netflix or Amazon. I have watched it, and it's totally worth watching.
We do not get any remunerations at all from
not at all
or Amazon, and we do not state that you should go out and buy anything for it.
But you should.
A disclaimer.
I still think the Galaxy Quest is one of the best Star Trek movies ever made, but it was brilliant. Absolutely
they made
brilliant.
It purely as a laugh, right? No one who made it had any idea it would become a cult following. It's got fan clubs. It's got everything on it now.
I know. I saw a video of, I think Brent Spiner was talking to Patrick Stewart, and Patrick looks at Brent and says, why didn't we do this?
There was actually, I heard, now again, this could be a furphy. I'm not 100%, but I heard that when they were originally writing the script, they wanted to get some of the Star Trek and Star Wars characters or actors to do cameo roles when they were in the when they were doing the like, and our guest star, they wanted them to come out and they wanted to do short cameo. Now I don't know if that's a furphy or that was just a PR to get, you know, to get people watching it in case, oh, can we see anybody? You know, I don't know, but I thought that's funny. If they had done it, that would have been hilarious.
Yeah,
I could have seen
Hammer. That would have been hysterical.
I could have seen Jonathan Frakes doing that in a split second. You know,
Oh,
he'd
yeah.
be in there like
He's done that sort of thing before. He's done it on Castle, so why not?
He'd be in there like a shot doing it, you know,
Absolutely.
and taking over. But I'm been in two minds whether to bring this up, but I'm going to. It's going to cause trouble. I'm not. I was a bit. You would never get away, I think, today with the way the companion allowed the diplomat to die and then take over her body.
She didn't though. She was on the point of death. That's what she said. She said she was on the point of death.
She's not there anymore,
and essentially gave permission.
No,
I know
but we didn't see that, did we?
She said she did say she is here.
Yeah, but
we are here.
It sounds more like the companion took her without asking, because you never saw. I think what they should have done.
Was witness them.
Yeah.
Her seeking permission.
Yes,
that would have been much better.
Yes.
Today
you would have done that.
Permission. Yes, because that would have been today. We would definitely have a scene of them seeking permission. To have it done off camera, you don't know. You're right. Yeah. We don't know. At the very least, afterwards, it would have been good for Spock to do maybe a mind meld to just verify the veracity of the claim.
I would have thought Kirk would have done that. I would have thought Kirk would have demanded that, because it's a violation of everything.
Even then, what are you going to do about it?
But it would have been at least, it would have again solved the problem of this entity taking over. Because in all honesty, the entity kidnapped or has killed the person, because, all right, she says, we're here, but the ambassador's no longer got conscious ability to control her body.
Well, they did something similar in SG-1. You started to Stargate SG-1 with the Tok'ra.
Yeah.
And Sam Carter's dad, he was dying. And so he willingly allowed himself to become a host. And through so doing, he was healed, and they entered into a symbiotic relationship.
Yes, and they always stated that with the Tok'ra.
They sought permission, and it was mutually beneficial.
Yes.
In this case, we don't know.
No, we don't.
You make a very good point. And that kind of bugged me as well, because we don't know. All we've got is the companion's word.
But you can see
this day and age, that's not good enough.
But you can see the different eras. Like back then, that was acceptable to do that kind of thing. It would have, because no one would have even thought twice.
Yeah, we just take your word for it.
Yeah, but today you can see that something like that would never have been. They would never have allowed that to have got through.
It is a different day, yes.
Yeah, so I like watching the older Star Trek because you see the differences.
Yes.
In
very
social
different mindset.
Yes, and there are some things you actually see in the older episodes, and you go, "My God, that was very forward thinking." I mean, Uhura was very forward thinking. Chekhov was very forward thinking. Even Sulu was very forward thinking, to be truthfully honest.
Yeah.
And then
I posted that meme recently where at one point Uhura was stepped forward and took the navigator station, and nobody thought twice about it.
And even Nurse Chapel, she got her own way in the sickbay a few times.
Yeah.
Now that was a pretty forward thinking thing. So I don't think Star Trek is actually, I know everybody gives it as, oh, it was, this, but I'm not certain I actually see how forward thinking and how far they actually pushed the envelope of the time.
Yeah.
I think realistically, we were seeing things back then that people expect today, but back then, expect nothing, guys. I mean, it's the 1960s. You're lucky you're actually doing anything, kind of thing.
Well, you know full well that Gene Roddenberry had to push just to get Spock there in the first place.
Yeah, they didn't want an alien.
Devil ears.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they didn't want an alien. I just found a piece this week, and I didn't know this. I knew Gene Roddenberry had fought tooth and nail to keep Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, on the show. But Leonard Nimoy also went into bat. I mean, he went into bat huge, actually. He put his job on the line to keep Nichelle Nichols on the show.
Cool.
So there was a lot of arguments going on behind the scenes because pretty much every episode, the studio bosses wanted to get rid of Nichelle Nichols. And they had to continuously fight to keep her on every episode.
Unbelievable.
And that's why in a couple
and she's such a fan favorite.
I know.
Everybody loves Nichelle.
I know. It doesn't matter what. And I'm not.
And considering the career she went on to after Star Trek,
I know.
I'm working for NASA. Seriously.
I'm not looking to start any arguments, but it doesn't matter what gender you are. Everyone loves Nichelle Nichols. Yeah. Everybody. She breaks all the barriers down and gets everybody to on side. She's amazing. She's an amazing person and an amazing actress.
Yeah.
But every episode there was argy-bargy trying to keep her on site. More than a few people had to go into bat and start threatening. I mean, thinking this is a TV show and you were having to threaten people to keep an amazing actress who would become a key role in the entire franchise. I know we see it today as an unbelievable thing, but realistically, Star Trek is an actual huge social kind of globe that you get to see what was going on. And I know we've got off topic here completely, but
I mean, Nichelle Nichols is the only red shirt that went through the entire series of Star Trek and never died.
Yeah, but no woman. They're not counted as red shirts because they're red skirts.
Oh,
no, I found this.
Out, is it? Yeah, fair point.
I found this.
Wearing a skirt, not a shirt.
I found this on a Star Trek website.
So just because she's wearing a skirt dress, she doesn't count.
No, she doesn't count. And somehow,
what has never a red female officer ever been killed in the original series?
I don't believe so.
Wow.
Because they've never worn. If you look at all the security officers, they're all blokes. They're all big, burly, kind of trying to be the Marine kind of concept, right?
Wow.
There's no female security officers in the original series.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
All right.
Considering the day, of course. But that does make sense.
But the factor is, and I did read this on a site, and supposedly the individual who got it from one of the crew, one of the writers, or something from the original series, saying that they wanted to make certain that they had this distinction between the red dresses and the red shirts, because they wanted to make certain that no female kind of got atomized, because it was an unacceptable thing. So they didn't want them to get atomized. So they wanted to make certain that there was this distinction. So they had a red skirt, and as long as you had a red skirt on, you were fine. This is probably why in the original first episodes of Next Generation, some of the guys were running around with skirts on, the dresses on, because they didn't want to get shot. I don't know. I'm wandering down some very dangerous roads here, I think, now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
It reminds me of a great gag, but I'll tell you off camera.
Oh. Yeah, take my word for it. That's probably a good thing. I know Sean's jokes, and yeah, I'd literally have to edit about that much out. It's just ridiculous. Look, final perceptions of the show. What do you think as overall? All right, let's do this from a 1 to 5. I'm going to do this, and then you can do it back to me. 1 to 5, as a one of the episodes of the original series. What do you think? 1 to 5. Where would you put it?
3.
Okay. What about the story? 1 to 5 again. So they're all going to be 1 to 5. 2. Oh God. What about the acting?
Oh, the acting was fairly solid. Overall, I'd give it a 4.
Whoa, gee, that's for you. Oh.
Yeah, no, I'd give it a 4. They did a fairly good job given the material that they were given.
Did you now? This is not like a number question. Do you think they should have gone back at another episode in the TOS and done a revisit to that episode?
No.
That's unusual. You're usually like me, that goes yes on them.
No, there's no point revisiting this one. It was a closed circuit, and revisiting Zephyr Cochrane, who was one of the most revered beings in the Federation, would have done nothing but ruin his life and end hers. Yeah.
Okay. No, I can accept that.
Yeah. So, for him, leave him alone. I've thought forward, and seriously, revealing his existence, the universe. I mean, Cochrane was right. Don't tell anybody he's there. Revealing his existence to the rest of the galaxy would bring him nothing but pain. So better off leave him alone.
No. That's a valid point. I mean, they got away with it in First Contact because they were doing backwards and not forwards, so they could get away with it. Okay, no, I can accept that as a valid. I can agree with that, actually. Now that you put it that way on the table, I would accept that. So for me, was it a good episode? I'm going to go. I would go. I'm cornered between a rock and a hard place. This is one of my favorites, but it's also, look, I'll give it a 3.5. I'm going to be generous. I'll give it a 3.5 because I think it was actually not a bad episode, but it wasn't one of the best ones that they did. All right. Am I comfortable with the story? No, I would give it a 2. The story had a lot of potential, but it didn't get to any potential, unfortunately, for me.
I mean, they could have cut out that entire section of attacking.
Yeah.
And use that time to address the question of whether Companion should join with the Commissioner.
I think that would have been a better version than what they did. I think they missed an opportunity, but again, their constraints of cost, writing, and what the censors would allow, and what the studio wanted, you kind of got to give it to them a little bit. Do I think the acting was good? Yes, I do. I actually believe the acting, apart from Kirk, I'm not giving Kirk an out on this, because I think that episode was one of his bad acting ones. I don't think, and that could have been because of scripts, but I just don't think.
Do you have a problem with the way that Kirk was?
I just don't. I don't think
seriously
he did anything with the lines. I think it was just very bad acting. It's almost like he didn't want to be there for that one. That was my interpretation. And do I think they should have done a revisit? I actually, before I heard Sean's version, I was going to say yes, I think they should have gone back. But after Sean, I would agree with Sean now. I would say no. I think leaving it alone was actually probably the right decision to do, and never go back to that. I think in that environment, I think they did the right thing. Not ever do a kind of a pseudo part 2. I think they did the right thing by just letting it go. So that's. I think. Is there anything else we can pick on this episode?
Nah. It's dead. It's on the floor, bleeding out. Let's leave it to die. Red. Yep.
Hang on, we'll just put a red shirt over it and we'll just shoot it. All right.
Poor
look,
thing.
Yeah. Look, we would. Truth Almighty. We would love to hear your comments. Just be kind to us because, yes, we pick on everything else, but we don't like being picked on ourselves.
Yes, we can give it, but not take it.
We can't take it. We're very soft when it comes to that. So let us know what you think of the episode, because there's a lot of different opinions about TOS. Multiple.
It's so dated. It's so out of touch.
I don't.
So far behind.
I don't believe that.
It was written in the 60s.
I know a lot of people have really strong opinions about the original series, and that's great. That's where why we can do all this and why we can do this at fan club at club meetings, because it does bring out a lot of emotions.
That's true.
And at club meetings, this is exactly what we do. The only difference is we only got the two of us. I can't get anybody else who wants to come on and get picked on like we're going to get picked on. We're just, I don't know whether we're silly, thick-skinned, or we just don't care. I'm not really certain. I've lost the plot now. But this is kind of the stuff we do for the club, all right? And if you get a chance, by all means, jump across to Trekkie Fan Fiction, because and I know Sean is a friend and he's a member of the club, but he is an amazing writer. I'm not kidding. He is he is an absolute amazing, and I don't gratify people just for the sake of it. Look, I'm a writer, but I write for myself, and I'm not anywhere in the league that Sean is. I was going to say Shane then too. I had to say it once, all right? So if you get a chance, jump across, and there will be connections and everything to the club and the email. So if you want more information about the club, by all means, drop me an email, and I'm more than happy to communicate back with you whatever you want to know. We are a friendly bunch. We are a silly bunch. I'm not denying that.
No argument there.
We have a lot of fun, and look, in all honesty,
That's
and I'm gonna say this: we're all living busy lives today. Probably more so now.
Life is a highway.
And a lot of people don't get a chance to come to meetings, and I get that. I mean, I understand that completely. The advantage with us is instead of you having to come to us, we come to you. All right, we do these. We do a lot of chats, like text chats and everything. We have as much fun as anyone else, and it gives everyone who loves Star Trek and science fiction an opportunity to talk to completely other silly people like us.
Just call us STA, Star Trek's Anonymous.
Yes. We have once a month meetings, and we're completely anonymous. Look,
We'll just tell everybody.
Yeah. And if you join our club, you too could be sitting in here and talking up Star Trek. Think about that for a moment. That's probably a bad thing for me to say. That's probably ward everybody off. Yeah.
You want them to run in the opposite direction, do you?
Yeah. Yeah. No. Look, I hope you enjoy watching this, because we love doing them. We actually have a lot of fun.
Yes, we do.
As you can tell, we don't love doing this at all.
No.
And I hope you have a good good week, good weekend.
Live long and prosper.
We will see you shortly with another one of these.
Indeed.
All right. You take care, everybody.
Live long and prosper.